I'm Coach Nick. I have been a health and fitness coach for almost a decade now. I was a personal trainer to start. I followed that up by getting my nutrition certification because I felt like there was something missing from my training. People can work out, but without the nutrition piece, they're never going to see real results. After that, I really started diving in to learning all about health from a holistic standpoint. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to your health, there's more than just fitness and nutrition. It spans so many things, and that's what we've been working on during this 21-day challenge. But today, I'm going to go through some of the top mindset shifts that you need to make in order to set yourself up for success past these 21 days. And these things are the things that I've seen consistently that people struggle with when it comes to their mindset and their overall health and fitness goals. And I know many of you here probably struggle with the same. And so I'm going to jump right into it. The first thing that I see that people struggle with is progress over perfection. So they always expect themselves to be perfect. And so when you stop aiming to be perfect every day, when you're aiming for to be perfect every day, that's just a recipe for burnout. So instead, I want you to focus on progress because at the end of the day, small, consistent efforts, they'll always outperform short bursts of perfection. And so the number one shift that I want you to start doing is to celebrate your wins, no matter how small, and give yourself grace on the off days. This is something that is so incredibly important to highlight because so many people think they need to be perfect. And perfection is the killer of progress. And I can speak from authority here because been building my business, I've constantly tried to shoot for perfection, and it's also held me back a lot of the ways. And so it comes down to your health and fitness as well. When you're always shooting for perfection, you're going to prevent your progress. And so, looking at it from a holistic standpoint, if you look at it and you're 1% better every single day, one meal better, one more workout, a little bit more stress management, a little better sleep, drinking a little bit more water, imagine how much that will add up over time. If you look at it from a whole year's perspective, you're 1% better every day. You're going to be 365% better by the end of the year. But that doesn't even take into account the compound effect. The compound effect that happens when you focus on progress over perfection is absolutely critical to focus on. So when you're focusing on small changes that you can do consistently over time, that's when you're going to see those major results that you're going to remove yourself from that major statistic where over 80% of people that lose over 25 pounds or more by using these quick fixes or fad diets where they have to be perfect for a certain amount of time, they end up putting it back on and then some. And that takes me perfectly into the next mindset shift is to focus on habits, not outcomes. When you're chasing a specific result, like losing 20 pounds, it can be frustrating and the progress just feels slow. And so instead, you can change it and focus on building the right habits that lead to those results. And so that comes down to a huge mindset shift of being action focused instead of outcome focused. Because when you're outcome focused, that is something you cannot control. You can't control the outcome. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to happen that could prevent the outcome. There's a lot of different factors. Your hormones could be off. There is a lot of stress that happening in your life. There's so many things that could prevent you from actually getting that outcome. So instead, when you transition and focus on the actions, that is something you can control. And when you focus on those actions every single day, you start to build those wins and you start to focus on the action, the progress of actions. And so I want you to ask yourself, like, did I show up today? Did I stick to my habits? If yes, you're winning. I'm going to go right back to the first one. Celebrate your wins. So many people don't give themselves enough credit. They don't celebrate the small wins. And what celebrating small wins does is it creates momentum. It makes the journey more fun. Instead of constantly beating yourself down like, oh man, it's the holidays and I just ate a pie with my family and, I just went way over on my calories. So whatever, tomorrow I'm just going to say whatever. Instead, say, look, I was conscious about what I did. Yes, I allowed myself the freedom to enjoy my time with my family and the things that I like, but I made some right decisions. I drank a little bit more water. I may have moved a little bit more. And so the key to this process is becoming health conscious. We spoke last week with Charlie about becoming more situationally conscious. And that's what we're trying to do during this 21-day challenge to get you a head start to becoming more health conscious. Now, that also brings me into this next thing that also wraps into the first one about progress over perfection. And this is the all or nothing attitude. That's that perfection attitude where I'm either going to do everything or I'm not going to do anything. And I talk to people all the time that fall into this trap. They don't recognize that they can just do a little bit and progress throughout the whole entire lifespan. Because at the end of the day, fitness isn't just for now. Installing fitness and nutrition and healthy habits into your routine is something that you should be focusing on for life because it improves your quality of life. It makes it so that you can make sure that you can be around for your kids, for your grandchildren. You can live life pain-free without any limitations because at the end of the day, we all will age, but it's up to us and our decisions that will dictate how we age. And so that's where those habits come in. Because if you can focus on the 5 habits, continuing past this 21 days, you're going to be 95% ahead, or you're going to be ahead of 95% of the people out there. And so think about that. Those 5 things that we're already working on, if you consistently stay with them after the 21 days, you're going to see massive results. Now, this segues perfect into the next one is thinking long term, but acting daily. Because success, it's not about quick fixes. You guys have heard me talk about this all the time. It's about showing up every day with the bigger picture in mind, right? So you want to shift your mindset and say, remember why you started and keep your long-term vision ahead of you, front and center, but always focus on those actions. So if you guys can see, these mindset shifts are all starting to tie together. And so those are some really big things. Think long term, but act daily, because when you're thinking long term, you have a vision, you have a goal, and then you can break them down into those small daily actions that are going to help you get to those goals. And another thing that I really find that people struggle with is that when they fail, they feel like they're starting over. But you're not starting over, you're building forward because every time you fall off, you're not back at square one. You're actually building resiliency and you're learning what works. Because at the end of the day, health and fitness is an experiment. Life is an experiment. We're here to go through this beautiful thing where we get to try what works or try to see what works and then also change courses if something's not working. And so when you find yourself falling off the wagon, and it happens because life has seasons. I've had plenty of them where I fall off for a couple of weeks or here and there, and I'm like, oh, things just get crazy. And it all happens to all of us. But I know that during that phase that I just fell out of, I still learned a lot. I grew a lot and I developed habits that I know I can pick back up because I have the education to implement them again. And that's a critical thing about what I'm a big advocate about is when you know the why behind the what, that's when you start to make real long-term change. As Maya Angelou says, when you know better, you do better. And so it's one thing to just be told what to do, but it's a whole different ballgame when you understand why. I always use the analogy. It's like when you tell a kid, hey, don't touch that stove. It's going to be hot. And I don't know if your kids are like my son, but he would look me right in the eye and be like, oh yeah, touch. And be like, oh no, it's hot. And so that's kind of what happens in this health and fitness space is people will try things and they won't see like if it works. So they'll dip their feet in, go in and out, but they're not fully committed because they don't know why behind the strategies. And so the why behind everything that we're doing is so important. I've explained this. Why do we need more sleep? Because it regulates our hormones and it helps set us up for a better day tomorrow. It's not about robbing your time from today. It's about setting us up for tomorrow. Why do we need more water? Because our body is made of water. And if we don't give it enough water, our vital functions are not going to work properly. And 3, movement, daily movement. An object in motion stays in motion, an object at rest stays at rest. It goes with our body and our physiology. If we continue to move every single day in ways that make us feel good, that's when we keep moving. That's when we're able to perform our life without limitations for the rest of our life. Number four, why do you need to eat higher quality food and minimize your sugar? Well, sugar is actually the silent killer. It causes so many health problems in today's world, and it just gets brushed under the rugs. It's because people know here, or the food industry knows, here's a bunch of sugar. We know we're going to get you sick. You're going to come back. You're going to come to us in the healthcare industry, and we're going to give you a pill. We're not going to help you work on your lifestyle that's actually going to fix the problem. We're going to give you a band-aid over the problem, and you're just going to keep doing what you're doing, but you're going to be dependent on us for the rest of your life. Once you start pulling strings and you start looking at what happens from the top down, you start to see that the food industry and the medical industry, they oftentimes they don't have our best interests at heart a lot because they're profit over people. And it's really unfortunate. And so you have to educate yourself to protect yourself. And so that's why low sugar, whole food nutrition protocols are very important. I don't like the word diet because of diet culture. It's that all or nothing. I have to keto. I have to remove everything, like all of these crazy diets that people try, and they might get you results for a little bit. But at the end of the day, once you go back off of keto, you go have a couple of drinks with your friends, you kick yourself out of ketosis, you go on to Thanksgiving and you eat carbs, all of a sudden you're going right back to where you were. So it's causing more harm than good a lot of times. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a time and a place for a lot of those diets. And I know they work for people, but you really need to focus on long-term success through building these habits. And then the last thing that we've been focusing on is stress management. Stress management is the silent killer, right? When people don't manage their stress properly, they're always on edge. You're always like, whoa, what's going on? Because they're being reactive instead of proactive. So when you're taking 10, 15 minutes every single day to sit down and actually manage your mental fitness, that's when everything starts to come together. Because mentally fit and physically fit, when those two come together, you can have the life that you've always dreamed of, where you're happy, you're managing stress well, you have no limitations, you're confident, you have energy, like everything comes together and they allow you to perform well professionally, to show up as a parent, as a grandparent, to show up in your relationship. Everything rises and falls from your health. And so that's why I'm explaining the why behind what we've been doing here, because it's really re-emphasizing all of these things. Now, I'm going to transition into some really fun things. These are some powerful hacks that will get you results quickly. And it's something that you can implement every single day, because at the end of the day, like we keep talking about, small things done consistently over time lead up to big results. So these are those small, quick hacks that you can do every single day, that if you stay consistent with them, you're going to find yourself in a place where not only are you fit right now, but you're going to be able to be fit for life. So the number one thing that you need to focus on, that I have always reminded people of, is that you have to plan tomorrow today. Now, there's a saying, everybody knows this. If you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. And so if you can take 5 minutes at night to plan your next day, your meals, your workouts, and the key habits, what it's going to do is it's going to remove that decision fatigue, and it's going to actually increase your likelihood of following through. So when you take a step back and you plan your next day and take just 5 minutes, it's setting intentions for the next day as well. And so when you actually have that bandwidth to say, okay, I'm going to be busy tomorrow, but where am I going to fit these healthy habits in that I know I want to fit in for myself because I know how they benefit me? That is the number one thing that you can do every single night to make sure you're set up for success. Remember, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. The next thing is to use the 2-minute rule. Now, this is something that I've been researching lately, but it's something that my dad always said: if you can do it now, do it now. So what it means is, if something takes less than 2 minutes, prepping a healthy snack, starting workout, tracking your food, do it immediately. Because at the end of the day, like we've talked about, those small wins build momentum and they reduce procrastination. And that's what really prevents people from seeing success for the long run, because they'll procrastinate. And then all of a sudden they procrastinate so long, so they just let it go. And so when we can build those small wins and reduce procrastination, that's when we can build that momentum and really make sure that we can have fun doing this. Because at the end of the day, we all know what it feels like when we have momentum, when everything is just flowing together. It just feels great. But when you're fighting against momentum, it's like trying to push a boulder uphill. But when you get that momentum, the boulder starts to go downhill and it just makes things super easy. And that's where those habits are. You're creating momentum with your habit. And then next thing is batching your nutrition. Now, what do I mean like by this? You need to prep your protein and your staple foods in bulk, but do this 1 to 2 times per week because it makes hitting your nutrition goals much easier. This is where that meal prep comes in. And one of the biggest reasons why this works is because it reduces those last minute unhealthy choices when time's tight. We all know how it goes. We're super busy and we're like, okay, we're just going to sneak through the Taco Bell line. And because it's just quick, it's there, but we know it's not exactly what we need to reach our goals. And so when we can take the time to actually prep some of the meals up front, it sets you up for success. Now, I'm going to give you a little hack that I've been doing lately that has literally changed the game for my nutrition. And it has been buying my groceries on Amazon from Whole Foods. This has saved me so much time. $10 a month, you get free delivery. You go through, you pick out your groceries, they will go shopping for you and bring it right to your door. But on top of that, Whole Foods has a really great section of already pre-cooked protein, vegetables, carbs. They have it all done. And so I've been going through and I've been buying 2 pounds of chicken, grilled chicken every single week. Boom. My protein is prepped for 3 or 4 days to get my protein goals. So when you're proactive like that and you know these little tricks, it makes it 10 times easier for you to succeed because that's at the end of the day, we need to remove some of those roadblocks to actually doing these things. One of the biggest roadblocks when it comes to eating healthy is going to the grocery store, fighting through the lines. And at the end of the day, sometimes grocery stores are not fun to be in at all because we also find, oh, we're searching through the aisles. Oh, that candy bar looks real nice. I just throw it in there. Oh, look at those fruit roll-ups. And so you're throwing it in there. But when you're shopping online, you're intentionally saying, okay, cool. This is what I want. Boom, click into the cart. It takes away all of those kind of impulsive buys when you're at the grocery store. So that has helped me out tremendously. And I think it will help you guys out tremendously too. Amazon Whole Foods orders are awesome because they also have a really high quality standard for the food that they let out. Make sure you're trying to get it as much organic as you possibly can. Now, the next thing, the next habit, or the next hack is actually called habit stacking. Now, this is like anchoring habits to habits that you already are doing. That's what the premise of habit stacking is. So if you're looking at, okay, I'm trying to increase my water intake. What is one thing that you do every single morning? Well, you get up in the morning, you go to the bathroom, you brush your teeth. What you can do there is stack having a glass of water right after that habit. Make it a habit. It's something you do every day. Just add something onto it. When it comes to your workouts, cool. You get done with an hour-long meeting where you've been sitting down a long time and you have about 10-15 minute break. Be like, okay, I have this specific meeting every single day. After this meeting, I'm going to take some time to myself and I'm going to work out or I'm going to find time for stress management. What that does is if you pick 1 of 2 ways, both of those are really important to do midday because they're going to help keep you mentally sharp. When you get a quick little 10-minute workout, it gets your heart rate up, it gets you feeling good, and then you can continue to perform at the top of your at the top of your game for the rest of the day. Or if you're like stress management, man, today's gotten away from me. I had a lot of things get thrown at me and I'm just feeling a little overwhelmed. When you could take a step back, you focus on stress management because you put it in and made sure that you're stacking it onto a previous habit. That's when everything starts to flow together because our brains are wired. Habits are such a big part of it because when you actually start to make those habits, it's changing the neuroplasticity in your brain. And so that's a topic for a whole nother week. But That's what's really important to do is making sure that you are anchoring habits. So when I get done with a workout, I'm going to slam a glass of water, making sure that you can take your long-term goals by implementing these 5 habits and stacking them into things that you're already doing. It's going to make it 10 times easier. So this brings me to the very last thing. And this is something that it's one of those productivity things that is going to help you in a lot of different things, a lot of different areas of your life, but it's to set alarms or triggers, meaning you can use alarms or just reminders on your phone for these key habits like drinking water or doing a 10-minute workout or just taking a walk. And this works because what it does, it's going to keep you accountable and it's going to make those healthy actions top of mind. Because at the end of the day, a lot of times we just get so busy and we get caught up in the day that those healthy habits, they just fall to the side and we just don't even think about them. And then at the end of the day, we're like, oh my gosh, I set a goal and I didn't reach it. So when you can set those reminders, it's a really, really great tool to help remind you to say, hey, you need to do this. There's a water bottle out right now. If you struggle with water, it's called the Hydrate Spark. And what it does is it's got an app connected to it, but it also has a little ring at the bottom and it will tell you when it's time to drink water. You set the goal in and it tells you when you need to drink water. There's technology out now that makes it so easy for you to track all of this stuff. The app that we're using, Trainerize, is really great to track your habits because at the end of the day, what's measured is managed. And when you constantly track those habits, you're seeing that progress add up right in front of you. And so I want to remind you to remember that mindset is the key foundation for success. But the hacks like these that will help that they're going to help you take action immediately. So stick to the process, trust yourself, and just focus on showing up every day. Like you guys have got this. You're already here. The fact that you're here listening to this shows your investment or you're investing into yourself.